Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing well today. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. Although it does feel like still so far until Arsenal play. It's mad. It's Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday and just bring me football, bring me Arsenal. And no, I don't. International football's not for me. I know people are very passionate about it, and I saw so much passion last night, especially with Moss, of course, one of our members with Canada and stuff. And I know that those games are really important from an English perspective. I'm an England fan. The friendlies just don't get me going. I mean, when Tyrone Mings is heading in a 92nd minute, third goal against the Ivory Coast, it's just not. It just doesn't fill me with the energy that Arsenal does, and so I'm in need of a little bit of a boost. I'm in need of a little bit of an injection of adrenaline for Arsenal, and hopefully that will be brought on Monday. Speaking of Crystal Palace, and of course all of the 10 fixtures that are remaining this season, myself and 5 of our members yesterday, I was very happy to be joined by Chris and Alex and Brad and Moss and King, and we all basically sat down and we predicted the last 10 games of the Premier League season. So if you want to go and have a look at that, that's the last video on the channel before this one. So make sure you go over there and give that a view. And watch it and let us know what you think in the comment section as to your predictions for the last 10 games. If you haven't done so already, do drop a like on the video. Do subscribe if you're new. And without further ado, let's jump into the chat box and say good morning. Matt G getting in there first. That's a blast from the past. Matt getting in there before everyone. Brilliant stuff. Rich, Cardo, Penny, Win, Jose, Kevin, and Titus even tried. Can only get best 6th place today. If you want to get first in the chat, you need to be on it in the mornings. I don't really have a set time that these pop up. Like, it could be basically depends when I wake up as to when they come up on the screen. But fair play to the people really trying to get first in the chat box. It's commitment is what it is. Good morning to Kevin and Tony. Good morning to Afsar. Good morning to Norbert and Simon and Friendship Family. It's a very apt way of describing the channel's chat box. Harvey, good morning to you. And Morgie and Roger. Malawi, good morning to you. Tulip, good morning, mate. And fantastic to see so many more of you as well. Apologies that I can't say it to everybody because I would be here forever. Chris, I try, but I fail. It's really difficult to get the first comment. Trust me, as soon as I click generate on like StreamYard to create the stream so it pops up in your YouTube feeds, I click over and there's already someone saying morning. It's mental. The commitment levels that the people in here produce. It's mad. Anyway, let's crack on. Bit of news regarding the Arsenal way. Slight change in the morning show time. We usually do our shows at 9:30 because of some big changes that's going on at Football London and in our team with Football London. Our shifts have changed, and so we have now moved the show till 10 a.m. So no longer 9:30. They're now at 10. So if you want to tune in for our morning shows over on the Arsenal way, 10 a.m. is when there will be link. As always, in the description through the link tree. If you go and click that, it will take you to the channel. Interesting news to kick off, though, of the Champions League. And this is also where I'm going to drop in our poll for today's show. Is basically the Champions League sees the possibility of historical merit coming back into the fold, so that basically if you don't qualify for the Champions League and you're of a certain stature, or if you've got certain, I don't know how they're going to work it out of historical merit, because a team like Spurs, never won the competition, they've only been in the Champions League a number of times. Would they still get into the competition? Would you not give it to teams like Nottingham Forest, who have won it twice, or Aston Villa that have won it? It doesn't make too much sense. But the question that I'm going to throw to you today is, would you accept a historical merit qualification place for the UCL if Arsenal finished not in the top 4? So that's the question. Would you accept a historical merit place in the Champions League if Arsenal finished outside the top 4? Just making sure I get my grammar right. There we go. There's the question. Yes or no. That's all you've got to do. and get your votes in now. A little bit of a moral dilemma for you this morning to try and go through, but we'll revisit that vote at the end of the news, and then revisit it through in the Q&A section as well in the second half of the show. The first Arsenal specific news: Thomas Partey scored to take Ghana through to the World Cup in the winter. Massive congratulations to Thomas Partey. Massive commiserations to Mohamed El Neni, who will not be there, but Partey and Ghana certainly will. William Saliba, staying with international football, started his first senior match as a French senior international. Matteo Guendouzi also got on the score sheet, I believe, for his first France goal. I might be wrong about that, but I can't remember him scoring outside of that goal, but he got on the score sheet right at the end with a really nice right-footed finish in the bottom right-hand corner. But Saliba started, and tonight at 8 o'clock we'll be giving you our monthly Saliba update. I'll be joined by Ben from the Marseille View at 8 p.m. UK time to talk through Saliba's march and, of course, get further reaction to him playing in the French senior national team. So make sure that you're subscribed with those notifications turned on to get that content. Moving forwards, Hector Bellerin's future still seems to be up in the air. Antonio Cordon, who is the Betis director, said that we haven't negotiated with Arsenal yet and we haven't talked about the future. We have to wait to see. We have to wait and see how the season ends. So Hector Bellerin certainly is still a player that we don't ultimately know what will happen with them. My feeling is obviously that he will move on in the summer. I don't see Bellerin remaining with Arsenal, especially with Tomiyasu. And I think that obviously we're in a situation here where a player that was worth a significant amount of money is now in a position where that value has dropped. The loan hopefully has lifted it slightly, but the problem is he's only got 1 year left on his deal. And so that makes it very, very difficult to demand a serious figure. The hope will be that a number of teams are interested in Bellerin, and that will hopefully drive up the price. But we're going to have to wait and see how much Arsenal are able to get for him. Now, a very interesting link to Sinesterra he's a Colombian, I believe, winger who plays the Feyenoord. In one of the quickest turnarounds of transfer stories I have seen, yesterday morning, Arsenal were being linked along with Napoli. And by the afternoon, Arsenal had pulled out of the race to sign Sinesterra. This was reports that came out from Italy that Napoli looked to be the side that are leading the race for Sinesterra. I think people in the chat box have brought up his name before. Can't say I've seen a load of him. I know that he's pretty rapid from his FIFA card. That's about it. I just remember him being really quick on FIFA. That is the only thing I know about Sinesterra. I don't know enough about him to have a judgment on how good of a footballer he is, but he is someone that was linked with Arsenal yesterday morning, and by yesterday evening, Arsenal had reportedly pulled out of the race to sign him. Quite a quick turnaround in terms of a transfer story. But of course, we like to bring you all of the stories that we find regarding our great club. And that was certainly one of the more amusing ones. Now, not so amusing and much more serious seems to be the links coming out of Italy again with Arsenal and Lautaro Martinez, a player whose name I love to try and pronounce as best as feasibly possible. But he is a player, of course, who's been linked to Arsenal in the past. We were linked to him quite heavily in 2021. We saw him sign a brand new deal with Inter Milan after Romelu Lukaku left. However, it does seem to be that he will yet move on in the summer, or the possibility of him moving on is there. Whether or not he would is obviously another matter, but the possibility of him leaving is there. And it would take a figure in the region of 58.5 million to get him out, which, to be honest, for the level of player that he is, I think is a fairly reasonable price tag. What I would say, though, is considering he's played a lot more in a kind of number two position, he's played with two forwards. He can play on his own and has done that for Argentina. But he's played with Lukaku, he's played with Dzeko. I'm not sure whether or not he would fit the Arsenal system and be able to lead that line on his own, whether or not he'd have to play off of a central striker again for Arsenal. I'm not sure. But he is a quality forward. He certainly can mix it with the big boys. He showed that when scoring against Liverpool earlier on in the season in the Champions League. I would be open to a move, but I think there are other targets that I have kind of, settled on more so than Martinez. But it's good to see us linked with players of a significant level like Martinez, and hopefully we'll see more of this towards the summer transfer window opening. And our headline story of the day is that Arsenal have asked to be kept in the loop regarding Raphinha's future. Fabrizio Romano reporting that 2 release clauses are in the Brazilian winger's contract. Should Leeds stay up, it would remain at 75 million. However, should Leeds go down, it would drop to a minimal 25 million to get him out of Leeds United. Now, Barcelona have continued to lead the race at this point in time, and they will be waiting until the end of the season to see if Leeds indeed do go down. If they do, I can imagine that Barca will swoop in pretty strongly. But Arsenal are also said to have been asked to be kept in the loop regarding possible movements for Raphinha. And I think what this shows us, along with the links to Cody Gakpo, which we talked about yesterday, is that Arsenal are looking at a wide forward player, a player that can come in and play in a central position, that can play in a wide position, and that can really push the likes of Saka and Martinelli and Smith Rowe as well. It also probably says a lot about Nicola Pepe's future as well, and maybe the fact that he will move away from the club. We brought you that interview of him yesterday, in which he said that he would be basically, we'll see what happens during the summer window. The focus right now is getting into the Champions League with Arsenal, but that he will see what happens in the summer. So I think that it certainly seems to be, and the indications are that this move for a wide forward could have a big impact on his future. And that is all of today's news. So we will have a look in the chat box to how our poll is going. We asked you at the beginning of the show, would you accept a historical merit place in the Champions League if Arsenal finished outside the top four, or would you turn that down? 35% have said yes, they would, but a massive 65% would say no, thank you. I don't want to be in the Champions League based on historical merit, and would turn that choice down. Very interesting. Fair play, those people that have said that. You're maybe bigger people than me. Being in the Champions League is a massive, massive plus for the club and moves us forwards. And if it's the way that they're going to play the game, do we want to miss out? I'm not so sure. But I completely understand that we don't want to get into a competition that typically has been done through, qualification. And to be honest, it used to be you have to win the league to get into this type of competition. So the fact that they're now opening up just because of historical merit is bad. It's bad. But fair play to the 63% that are currently voting. No, we will return to that vote towards the end of the show. Let's go to your questions, though, in the chat box in the second half of this morning's episode. Okay, then, let's jump into the chat and see what questions we've got. Ian says, if there was a choice between Serge Gnabry and Raheem Sterling, who would you prefer? Maybe Gnabry can play in the right competition to Saka. Sterling's wages are a little bit of a concern for me. I think Gnabry is available for less than what you'll be able to get Sterling committed to. So I think that would make me lean towards Gnabry. And they're two players that are probably in a very similar bracket to one another. So I don't think that would necessarily be a bad thing. Kevin says Gakpo and Nunez, or Laka and Haaland or David and Martinez, or a pair of your choice. Wow. It's very hard to say no to Erling Haaland. Very, very hard. What I would say is that his injury record of late has been very poor, and that does make it slightly easier to lean towards Gakpo and Nunez. Call me mad, but I do believe that maybe Arsenal would get more from getting Gakpo and Nunez than they would from Laka and Haaland. But the difference is I think that Haaland is arguably one of the two best players in the world coming through with Mbappe. It's very close. I'm tempted to not even pick between the two options. I wouldn't choose the third option of David and Martinez, but it's the first or second. But I'm very, very torn, Kevin, on who I would pick between those. That's a very difficult question. Ollie says, hey, Tom, what are your thoughts on Nacho Monreal's comments on Ozil? Yeah, we talked about this the other day when they came out. I thought that they were very contradictory because in the same kind of, in that line of questioning, he said something along the lines of, Ozil's problem is that he had problems with everyone. But then at the end of it, he also said a quote which was like, he got on with everyone. So I don't really know. Maybe it was a lack of being translated, or it was lost in translation. I don't know if it was done in English or not. I know it was done through 442, I think. So maybe it wasn't, to be fair, done in Spanish, and maybe it was done in English. But I don't know if that was what he intended to say or if it came out right. But it was very contradictory because at the start of the paragraph, it looks like he's slating him. At the end of the paragraph, it looks like he's backing him. But he also said that he had problems with Wenger, and that's why he didn't play in the last however many games of the season it was. It's strange. I don't find it surprising because, Ozil's got this history of these issues with managers and coaches, etc., and is now having issues at Fenerbahce as well. So I don't know. But I'll tell you what, there's a reasons why you block Ozil things on Twitter. Because you don't want him coming after you. Marcus says, is it not the same as asking happy to be in the Champions League when we're not champions of your country? I don't think it's the same, because you still have to earn that right to be in the Champions League competition by finishing in the top 4. Whereas if you're given a spot because of your historical merit, it is different. You're not earning it in the same way. No, you technically have earned it through your past of being, a historically big club. But how do you decide that? Arsenal have never won it. Arsenal don't deserve to be qualifying for a competition they've never won. That's not right. Like, Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa deserve to be in the Champions League through historical merit more than we do. So that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Morgie says, Tom, from England starting 11, I would have these at Arsenal. Mitchell, Ward, Prowse, maybe Rice, Bellingham in a heartbeat. But the rest, ignoring Ben White, no thanks. Ignoring Ben, is that Ben White? I'm trying to think of any other Bens now you might have missed. Other than him, no thanks. In my opinion, shows Arsenal have a strong team and squads. I mean, yeah, we've got a better goalkeeper. I wouldn't be taking Kyle Walker-Peters or Kyle Walker, who's now, in his early to mid-30s. Kieran Trippier, the same. Trent Alexander-Arnold, though, probably would take him, to be fair, over Tomiyasu, or with Tomiyasu. Either of those two, I think, would be great. Centre-halves, we have Ben White. He's arguably the best English centre-back. But then Gabriel I'd say he's better than Mings. I'd rather have Gabriel than Maguire. I'd rather have him than Gehi or Connor Cody. Left-back Tierney is the left-back situation to our benefit. Luke Shaw. Who else have we got? England's left backs. It's completely escaped my mind now who it would be, who the other one is beyond Luke Shaw. But who is it? Why can't I think of another left back? Surely there's another left back. But, I mean, Kieran Tierney's been fantastic for us. So Rice and Bellingham, though, are absolutely brilliant. And they both get into our team over Granit Xhaka, you would have to say. Smith Rowe, Saka, Kane up top, Ben Chilwell. Thank you, Ian. Yes, Ben Chilwell, who I don't really think is wildly better than Tierney. I certainly wouldn't swap them. So, I think that we're in a situation where we don't have to swap those two. But when it comes down to Kane, sometimes you have to swallow your pride and say, look, he's one of the best strikers in the world. And, Arsenal would probably be better off with him in our team than in Spurs' team, that's for sure. Bradley, who joined us last night in our look ahead to the last games of the season, and is clearly up at a ridiculous time in the morning. Brad, what are you doing? Says, Tom, are you worried about Arsenal not pulling the trigger on a first-choice striker? I kind of get a bad feeling that they will try to roll with Laka for another season. No, I'm not. I think they will go for a first choice. My issue is that if they commit to Lacazette for an extra year instead of going for 2 quality forwards, I have a bit of an issue about that. It depends on who we're able to get and who isn't available. But I'm not worried that we will, or rather, I'm not worried that there is a chance that we won't bring in a striker. I very much think that we will. Nando says, hi, Tom. My thoughts on Nunez is that he isn't technically clean and seems fortuitous in many goal-creating circumstances. He won't find that space in the Premier League. What are your thoughts? I disagree. I do think that Nunez is proving to be a quality forward and has world-class potential. He's not yet world-class, and he's still just 22. He's still got elements of his game that he needs to refine and improve and develop on. But I like his finishing. I like his aerial ability. I like his physicality. I like his touch at the moment. And technically, yes, he needs to improve in certain aspects of his game and be a little bit quicker with some of his decision-making, some of his first touch movements. But that will come, especially playing for Arsenal. So I think there's a lot to like about him. And I think that he would flourish in this Mikel Arteta team. What happened to Balogun? Balogun scored for England's under-21s, Richie. So he, again, getting on the score sheet for England. I think he got a brace, in fact. So he's gone on loan to Middlesbrough and will be back in the summer. Don't you worry. Let's scroll down. Jay and Bele says, speaking of Ozil, AFTV an interview with his agent promoting his new book. Get him on. No, I don't think. I think that everything that will be talked about on AFTV is probably what will come through from that. If the opportunity is there, why not? But I think that AFTV, will get pretty much most of the lines that there are to get out of that one. Billy says, it's based on UEFA coefficient, Tom. Would you accept if they create the space for clubs with high coefficients to compete in playoffs alongside the lower league clubs? No. I wouldn't base it on. I wouldn't accept it. I find it very hard. Would I stop supporting Arsenal in the Champions League if we got in it through it? No, obviously not. But it wouldn't feel anywhere near as, it wouldn't feel good to go into the competition through historical merit. It's just basically a way to protect clubs like Barcelona and Real Madrid and Bayern Munich or Borussia Dortmund or, Man United if they don't get into the Champions League through that top four. So that's the concern. That's the worry. Walk says, doesn't this qualification thing smell like the Super League? Yes, it does. Basing qualification on past merit, slippery slope. They'll be going down. It's very hypocritical. It's very Super League-esque. It's disgusting. And, how's Schäferin, the head of UEFA, can stand there and belittle or berate the Super League proposals and then put in a historical merit qualification phase into his own competition, just shows you the level of inadequacy that there is in the leadership models of these giant corporations that run the competitions. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Craig says, hi, Tom. I feel more relaxed about transfers this summer. Even if we do finish outside the top four, Arteta and the club have earned my trust with how they fortified the spine of the team last summer. Craig, I agree with you. Look, if we finish outside the top four, it would be a huge disappointment, in my opinion. It wouldn't be a failure because that was not the target I set out at the beginning of the season for me. It's my opinion. But what I would say is that it would still be a massive disappointment considering the opportunity that we have to get there, especially if Spurs end up finishing in the top four with Antonio Conte at the helm. So there is a lot still to play for. There is a lot that still needs to be done. Fingers crossed we can get it. What I would say is that Crystal Palace have ultimately had a little bit of issues with injuries ahead of Monday. Zaha is a doubt. Elise is a doubt. So there hopefully is a little bit more good news for Arsenal. Aya says, someone please explain this ridiculous notion of us getting two strikers. Makes absolutely no sense. Plus those fans are setting themselves up for disappointment for no reason. Bellerin is there. I don't think Bellerin is ready to be Arsenal's second choice striker. And I think actually maybe another loan to a Premier League club next season would be really beneficial. Getting in two forwards is not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous at all. In fact, to the best of my understanding, it is what Arsenal are looking to do, is they're looking at two forwards. It might be that one of those forwards is a wide forward with the scope to play centrally. But what I would say is that it isn't ridiculous to consider Arsenal pushing for two forwards in the summer transfer window, because it is something, to the understanding of me and my colleagues, and Chris Wheatley reported this, that two forwards is on the agenda. Weedy says, did you see PSV told Arsenal Gakpo will cost 42 million and Barcelona have registered interest in Tierney now? Also, Pepe's currently value is only 27 million in today's market. I'm not surprised that Barcelona are interested in signing Tierney. Real Madrid have shown that interest as well. They will have to pay a significant amount of money if they want to sign him. Pepe's value doesn't surprise me either, and Gakpo's price is definitely worth it. Philip says, if you had to pick two major attributes in a striker out of this list, what would you pick? Pace, dribbling, heading, hold-up play, passing, high work rate. That's really hard. Does it mean that they don't have the attributes of the others? High work rate has got to be a must if you want to play on this Arsenal team, surely. And then, we need, it's interesting you haven't put clinical finishing on there. I think that the high work rate and passing are two really key parts of what a striker needs to play at Arsenal. You need to be able to link up play with your teammates. You need to be able to work hard and press. I think that the other traits are important, but I think that those two will be looked at as a possible traits for a striker. And whether or not they have them or not, who knows? But I think that's what they would look to, is strikers with those types of attributes. That's why we link with someone like Jonathan David, because his work rate is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. AFC Till I Die says, morning, Tom. Is it better to keep Mainsley as squad depth, seeing as we wouldn't get much for him in the summer? No, I would move him on and promote Charlie Patino or Salah-Radin or someone from the youth team instead and give them opportunities instead. Wenger Boy, we don't know yet if Saka has yet recovered. He only tested positive last week, so he will be on the mend. We don't know if he'll be available for the Palace game as of yet. Mikel Arteta will conduct his press conference at the end of this week. Albrecht says, would you keep Cedric for next season? Yes. Would you prefer an upgrade on if Norton Cuffy isn't considered ready? I don't think he will be considered ready. But what I would say is that bringing in a replacement for Cedric would block the path of Norton Cuffy in the future, a player which is showing real potential. So right now, I would keep Cedric. I think he's a fine backup to Tomiyasu and allow Norton Cuffy further development to come through and stake a claim for a place in the squad either next season or the following season. Byron says, morning, Tom, and morning all. I hope that we are well today. You too, mate. Billy says, considering we could be in European spot, hopefully the Champions League, how many players do you think we need to add to this team to cope with the extra games? I personally think 4 is enough. It also depends on who leaves, Billy, who, we move on. We're thinking the Matt Turner's coming in for Bernd Leno. That's already 1. 2 forwards, that takes you to 3. And then the central midfielder, I think, adds another. But if you then start losing Nelson and Maitland-Niles and El Neni and Holding and Cedric, who knows? You've got other players that could move on as well. Torreira, we know is going. Mavropanos is going. Guendouzi will leave. There's a lot. We've thinned the squad a lot, but, there's quite a few moving. So maybe we'll need a few more. Weedy says, isn't it odd that Ramsdale is England's best goalkeeper this season, yet Pope plays ahead of him last night? Ramsdale's injured, Weedy. That's why he didn't play. Ramsdale's not in the squad. So that's why Pope played. So there you go. Let's scroll up and see if we've missed anything. Tulip says, Raphinha, Schick, Bellingham, or Gakpo, Nunez, and Tielemans. I would go for... Oh, that's a really good question. I feel like Bellingham is probably destined to be the best centre midfielder in the world, arguably. So I probably would pick the first 3 just because the level is so much higher. And Schick and Raphinha are still going to give you plenty of quality. Let's scroll and get some more questions in before we wrap things up. We've got 5 minutes left. Don't forget about Trusty. I forget about Trusty because he's going to be going on loan in the summer. So, that he's not going to be part of the squad. Answer says, I haven't seen a single team buy 2 number 9s in a season. Hopefully 1 forward and 1 wide forward. And then we keep Lacazette for 2 more seasons or just the 1. It's very rare that it does happen, but it's a situation that Arsenal need to try and work out this summer. It's not the first time that teams would have done something for the first time. Why can't Arsenal do it for the first time this time around? Gakpo says Fuad or Gnabry. I think that's a really tough one. I lean towards Gakpo because I feel like the right-hand sides, saying that, if Pepe moves on, Gnabry on the right, competition for Saka. Arguably, Gnabry's more accomplished already in the middle. But Gakpo's got more potential at 22 years of age, and he adds more physicality with his height. It's a real split one. Very, very difficult indeed to pick between the two. I still lean towards Gakpo because I just think the potential is so much higher right now. And yeah, I like the profile of Gakpo more. Let's see how the poll's getting on before we wrap things up. Would you accept historical merit place for UCL if Arsenal finished outside the top 4? Yes, 42%. No, 58%. So it has dipped slightly from that yes side from the start of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, people. As I said, this is not your only show of the day. We will be live at 8 p.m. tonight covering William Saliba's month, getting into the French national side and succeeding again with Marseille. I'll be joined by Ben from the Marseille View. So I look forward to talking to you more about Saliba this evening. If you want to join us on the Arsenal Way, that show has moved from 9:30 in the mornings to 10 a.m. So make sure that you've got all of your schedule in line if you would like to join us a little bit later on. It's been an absolute pleasure to join you guys, as it always is. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your likes and your comments and everything else. It's always an absolute joy doing this in front of you every morning, and I'm glad that you join me every day for it. So we'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.